You're never gonna make it, you're not good enough. There's a million other people with the same stuff. You really think you're different? Man, you must be kidding. Think you're gonna hit it, but you just don't get it. It's impossible, it's not probable, you're irresponsible. Too many obstacles, you gotta stop it, yo. You gotta take it slow, you can't be a pro. Don't waste your time no more. Who the f*** are you to tell me what to do? I don't give a if you say you disapprove. I'm gonna make my move, I'm gonna make it soon. And I'll do it cause it's what I wanna f***ing do. Cause all these opinions and all these positions, they come in millions, they blocking your vision. But no, you can't listen, that shit is all fiction. Cause you hold the power as long as you're driven.
There's no way that you make it. And maybe you can fake it, but you're never gonna make it. Oh, will you fight?
Hello and welcome to Game Day from the UK, another live pre-game streaming show brought to you by the Miami Heat UK, here to preview tonight's game against the LA Clippers. We thought we wasn't going to have a show tonight. We have people that were busy, people that are working, people that are moving house, but right at the last minute, John Jablonka, Glenn Smith came in clutch and we've got a show together. So thank you very much for joining me, guys. Before we get on to anything, we're going to reflect on last night's devastating overtime defeat to the LA Lakers. But first of all, let's introduce John Jablonka. How are you?
I'm pretty good. Hella tired, though.
Yes, very tired, yeah. I mean, West Coast games, 3 a.m. tips are never the best, but when they go to overtime, that's taking the piss, especially when you lose. Glenn Smith, how are you, sir?
Yeah, man, I noticed you boys have still got your glasses on, but mine can't go on today. My eyes are too sore, man.
Yeah, lots of rubbing eyes going on. Definitely. Let's get into it, guys, because first of all, I want to say it was a really, really enjoyable game. I don't think there was a lead up until the fourth of more than double digits at any point. I think the biggest run going on to quite late on was something like 6 or 7, I know. I think there was 30-something lead changes in this game. Brilliant game, really, really great, but the Heat lost this, and it was a bad L. Let's have it right. John, this was a bad L, wasn't it? As soon as there's this Lakers team aren't bad, but they're also not great, and when they're losing their superstar and LeBron James, and you still lose, and you lose it when it's there to win, that's a bad L, isn't it?
Yeah, I literally just finished watching the game, and we had like a 9-point lead with like 6 minutes remaining, and that's what made it worse. And they made just tough shots. Monk made a bank shot. I think Bradley made another bank shot. He made a floater with like shot clock running out. It was just a tough loss. Yeah. Especially when we had the lead down the stretch as well.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, don't get me wrong. Look, I mean, 9 points, 10 points can be wiped out in 90 seconds. We know this. We know momentum shifts games, but we felt like we was in control of that. And when you look at it, it's not really that they beat us. I think we beat ourselves here, Glenn. I think, don't get me wrong, they made some big shots. We'll come on to that in a minute, the amount of bloody banked threes they was getting, etc. But, Duncan Robinson missing clutch free throws, missing a layup as well, which would have, I think, extended our lead to about 5. Instead, they go up the other end and then get a triple. That was one that we threw away, wasn't it?
I seem to remember, as you say there, Duncan Robinson missing a few free throws and a layup. But I see, like in the last 6 minutes, I think we made maybe 1 free throw too. I can't talk like actually statistically, but from what I remember, it was dreadful. We'd hit no free throws. We capitulated towards the end there, and considering, Jimmy was out from quarter 1, but they had no LeBron. So, and as you say, isn't it not the oldest team in the league now? Come on.
It has to be. It has to be. I mean, 100%. It's it is. It's just a really frustrating one because you felt like that was, even though it was a tight game, you felt in control. And when Dwight Howard went out, we've always had this. I don't like Dwight Howard as a player, but he's effective, and we struggle against size, especially someone at his size. When he went out so early, I mean, 6 fouls, fouled out in 11 minutes, which is quite hilarious. But when he went out, I thought, right, this is it now. Bam's going to read. We're going to get this job done. Jimmy or no Jimmy, I didn't see this being thrown away. And we did, and that's why it's really frustrating one. John, you sort of already mentioned it briefly there, but Malik Monk and the amount of banked threes. I mean, I don't know what the stats were, but it just felt like everything that was being thrown up was going in from deep. And Malik Monk, I think, a 27-point game. I'll be delighted to never play against this guy ever again. Eric Creed was going in hard on the commentary. What did you make of his performance and this 3-point feast that they were having?
But yeah, it's just annoying because it would feel much less worse if he was doing that to every team, but he didn't like. I think he was like scoreless or something. He had a bad games previously, and then just suddenly goes for like 4 or 5 threes. Bradley as well.
Yeah.
He could never stay on the court with us, and now he's making 5 threes. And the whole team was just, I think, per NBA, they had like 35 open or wide open shots. And that's what they almost made 50% on their threes.
Yeah, it was just one of them. You feel like it was just one of those that, and any other night we would have come away from there with a 12 to 15 point win. But because everything was just going down, it just was one of those nights. Because it was one of those nights, there were some good performances. Bam played well, I thought. Hero played well again. Lowry was good again. I felt that they really all stepped up in Jimmy's absence. But the attention is always going to go, Glenn, back to Duncan Robinson again. 3 from 13 he was at one point. I don't know whether he finished on that, but you know the team are keeping this same line, and I suppose it is the right line to have. Is that we're going to start blaming him when he stops throwing them up. It is a shooter slump, and he's not the only one. I think Carl has said like I'm in the same. I'm in my own little slump here as well. At what point does it start to get maybe a little bit indefensible? Is it now or is it too early?
Considering, as we spoke about a few times before, the options that you have off of the bench, whether you go, okay, then who's your scorer coming off the bench if you start moving Hero into the shooting guard spot and go from there, and you lose a bit of height as well. I agree with you. How long can you go on calling it a slump for before you start? It's like, well, hang on a minute, maybe it's starting to like actually put us critical, because 27% from the three in total. I appreciate not all of those shots are his, but it's poor in the way the league's gone in the past decade. You can't be having nights and expect to win games on 27% from three. And quite honestly, it's a joke that we almost did continue to still win on 27% from three.
Yeah, it's not even. It's just a lot of those looks were uncontested. There were 3 open looks, and it's just not going for him. He needs a big night. I'm still 100% behind him. I did a poll earlier, which got a good 200 or 300 votes on it to say are you in or out on Duncan, and I think it was about 71% on in. So I'm pleased that the fan base is sticking with him. But each game that this goes by, that gets a bit harder. Hopefully he can have a big game because we're going to need these points from him tonight. John, someone put out a poll or a question to say, it might have been 5 reasons saying what's more of an issue here? Is it our 3-point shooting or our 3-point defending the 3-point?
I'll say our 3-point defense.
Yeah.
Teams won't be shooting. I'll check now. They won't be shooting 30% on threes, and they're shooting like around the same on open and wide open looks. So if we're expecting Duncan to make these open looks, other teams will also be expected to make their open looks. And we give up the second most threes in the league. So if the opponents start making their open shots, our defense just go down as well.
Yeah, it is an interesting one. It's going to be hopefully we come out a bit more firing tonight because as I said, with no Jimmy, we rely on his points to getting us to the line, etc. But there were some good performances last night. Some good performances. A double from Bam, a double from PJ Tucker, a double from Carl as well. I think. So the effort was there. It's just one of those damn nights. Before we come on to the Clippers game, John, I think we got a John Stats segment for us. Let's do it. The stat father himself, off you go, sir.
To just start off the basics, Clippers are 18th on offense, and they have they're third in defense as well. So this is going to be again a battle of our high offense and their stingy defense. They are on a 5-game winning streak, and what's concerning is who's been hot during a hot winning streak. Reggie Jackson's shooting almost 23 points, 6 assists on 45% from deep on 8 attempts. And seeing as Monk just killed us, Reggie might just continue his hot streak. They're also 5th in 3-point made. And like I said before, Heat are 2nd in allowing the most threes. So if they allow the most threes with Clippers will hurt us from deep. Also 3rd most efficient on spot ups. He allowed the 2nd most spot ups in the league. And another thing, Paul George, I saw this tweet. I think it was Giannis as well that said Clippers switch a lot. And there's some guy that covers the Clippers said PG takes advantage of the little guys, especially in the mid range, and he's shooting 51% on the mid range.
Okay, so not the best reading for us then, really. As we know, yes, a 5-game win streak. Paul George on an absolute tear as well. 26.7 points he's putting up per game, 8.3 rebounds, 5.5 or 5.8 assists per game. He's also got 2 or 3 steals, I think he's throwing in for good measure as well per game. So he's on fire. Glenn, we would normally, I would have thought, would have Jimmy on Paul George. That's obviously not going to be the case. Jimmy Butler is out tonight officially. Would you now look at it now? And I know that John's just ruled off some worrying stats from people like Reggie Jackson, etc. But would you not go right, Bam and Kyle, just double team him, and you'll just accept the rest, accept the damage, because that's limiting the biggest threat?
See, I agree with you on that, but I'd go a step further and to say that we have been at times incredible when running a 2-3 zone. And I would say that the thing that misses for me, especially watching some of the rotations that we've got now on defense, and as we were saying about the wide open threes last night, I would move more into a zone more frequently to help control that, especially when, as you say, you're out with Jimmy. Well, probably you've got Bam in there, but you don't really want him defending too far away from the rim or you're going to have problems there. So in terms of switching and keeping double, I'd like to see more of the zone being used tonight, and in more games in general, because I think that was a key aspect of our bubble run, our bubble, whatever you want to call it, with all the crap that goes on surrounding that. I think it was key, and I think that could help us start to pin down these open shots, and especially players like Paul George, who've got a bit of everything in their bag. Leave Bam at the rim, let him do his thing there, and let the boys at the edge kind of handle trying to stop him shooting his hot streak.
Yeah, okay, interesting. John, the keys to win then tonight. What do you think if we're gonna come away with a victory? And God, we need one. But this is a tough ask. They're playing well, as you said. They've just knocked off 5 in a row. He actually have a decent record on second night of back-to-backs. I can't remember the stats exactly, but I know they're saying it's a good record. What's the key that we've got to? What's the main takeaway to get a win tonight?
Be locked on defense and make those rotations so we don't allow almost 40 wide open threes. I read this on the SB Nation of the Clippers page. They said the way Clippers just win games is let Batum and all the other 3-point specialists first knock down their shots, and then have Eric Bledsoe and Paul George just go into the rim. Then you'd have to pick your poison with a helping. So I think stopping a freeze, it will be the first priority.
Yeah, I think that's right. I think that is the way to go. It is pick your poison. It's a bit similar to last night, because going back, you wouldn't, every time that Westbrook is throwing up a free, or Avery Bradley's throwing up a free, or Malik Monk's throwing up a free, there's defensively, you feel like you've done your job. It was just one of those nights where they just all kept sinking. So yeah, as I said, you could play that game again, replay it 10 times, and you probably come away maybe 7 or 8 times out of 10 that you would have got that win last night. So yeah, I agree with you. That's probably the best way to do it, to pick your poison. Last question before we get some predictions from both of you. Glenn, obviously, as we know, Jimmy not playing tonight, so there's a starting position there up for grabs. For me, it's still not Tyler Hero again, even though there's every temptation to do so. I'm more than happy to keep him running this bench unit. So what do we do here? Caleb Martin, perhaps?
I think Caleb's been showing out in these last few games, to be honest with you, and by all means, put him in there. The fact that we got this man on a 2-way for not even a couple of million, I think it's 1.6 maybe, is a joke. And I think he's earned his spot tonight. I was questioning putting UD in last night. I'd love to see the minutes, but I'd rather see one of the younger guys who can move forward more. And so, yeah, Caleb for me fits that perfectly, and I think we should start him tonight.
Yeah, we talked about it briefly on the pod last night, that we said, what about, do we think we're going to see Dedmon and Bam in together? And I said, I think we'll probably see more UD and Bam before we see Dedmon and Bam. And that ended up being right. John, what do you think here? Any difference on that? Any difference of opinion, or would you go with Caleb to start off as well?
Yeah, I think I'll go with Caleb. Do we know if Strus is available? Or
I think he is available. I don't think it's confirmed, but from what we saw last night, they said ruled out last night with the aim to play tonight. So I would say that Strus is probably going to be getting some action tonight.
If so, then I think Caleb go in a starting lineup, then have Struss just coming off the bench. That will be the way to go.
I think that's the sensible thing. I think we're all united on that. So we'll see what happens. It's going to be an interesting one. Clippers themselves are a little bit beaten up. Only 9 players available for them tonight. They are rested. They got an extra night's rest. And of course, we did go into overtime last night. As we know, it was getting sunny by the time that the game finished here. So we know all about that. But so it's going to be an interesting one. The Clippers are slightly favourites with the bookies. I think a -4.5 point spread. So we're going to expect a tight one. Let's get some predictions. Glenn, I'm going to start with you.
I'm going to go cautious this time. After the last couple of times I've gone, yeah, we'll win, and then ended up losing to both the Pacers and I can't remember the other game now. I want to remove that from my brain. I'll go. I think I can see us going OT again tonight, and hopefully we scrape 2 by 2, maybe 3 on the OT.
I mean, can I just say, if we go overtime tonight with a 3:30 tip that's already scheduled to finish at 6, if that goes overtime, I'm just going to cry. I'm just going to cry. John, your thoughts on this prediction?
The optimistic fan would want to say the Heat, but objectively, I would say Heat lose without Butler.
Well, there we go, ladies and gentlemen. We have been running this show now. We are now in game 13 of the season, and we have our first guy to go against the Heat in our pre-game show. And to be honest, John, I don't blame you because I'm following you. If you didn't do it, I was going to do it. I think the Heat we're going to put up a fight because it's the way we do things. We're always, underdog status, all of that, the kennel, a bunch of dogs, but the Clippers are on fire. Paul George is on fire. They're in their home arena. We're knackered from a back-to-back. We lost our superstar in Jimmy Butler. I think it's going to be tight still, but I think the Clippers are going to take this by probably 5 or 6 points tonight. So if that's the case, one final question. That will now be 0-3 if that is the case for this West Coast trip. Well, I mean, if someone says right now with 3 games to go, you can get out of here with 2 wins, you're snapping your hand the hand off of that, aren't you, Glenn?
Yeah, and I think I was thinking about it earlier. I can't remember the exact game we said it, but we said on the trip we'd go 3-3, didn't we? And to be honest with you, I'd say the same. I think that if at the end of the day, after 20 games, we come out with 10-10, is anyone going to cry? No, we're going to still be in a good position to move forward and build on it. We had a few good big guys come in this year. We lost a lot of what our key offense was in the last few seasons with Goran, and it takes the time to change. We had that nice little arc riding, having some good fun with these with early 5-1 wins or whatever it was, and yeah, you still take it in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree, and I think Pat Riley in his pre-season presser said, if we can get that first stretch out the way and we're on, a positive or neutral record, that's going to be key because he looked ahead at that schedule and it's a tough schedule before it then starts to soften as you go into the end of the month and into December. So he was pinpointing that, saying it's all about staying healthy and getting through that stretch in any sort of positivity. Now, we made a roaring start. And now we're going to see that the bench unit is going to have to be stretched a bit because injuries are starting to creep in. West Coast trips are never easy, especially when you lose this. You lose your star man. This is now our third game in 4 nights against tough opposition. The Jazz will be following again straight after as well. So it's not easy. So I agree. This is no need to panic. We've made a good start. Once we get back home, we'll see the wins start to stack up. But there we go. So for the first time tonight, we've got Glenn going with a Heat win still, but me and John, the majority has gone with a Clippers win, which is quite incredible. Guys, we will leave it there. Thank you very much for joining me at late notice to come and jump on this pre-game show. We will be in the in-games comms again, 3:30 a.m. tip. Join me for it. We will be involved. Hopefully this one doesn't go to overtime. Otherwise, I might be late for work. But we'll see what happens, guys. Enjoy the game. And we'll talk on Saturday for an early tip, a 10 p.m. tip against the Jazz. But let's get tonight out of the way first. Enjoy the game, guys.